Hi friends, it's Katie Steinberg here with this week's message from Missing Piece, and I want to let you know that you've probably already figured it out, but this Sunday's Easter, and we're doing an Easter brunch at the Bailey House, which is at the corner of Granada and Beach Street, and you're invited. We'd love for you to give us a heads up on Facebook though, so we can make sure we have enough food for you. We'll be having brunch and an egg hunt and a good time together in general. So you're invited to that. The next week, a week from Sunday on the 8th, we'll be doing Tai Chi at Fortunato Park, which is on the corner of John Anderson and Granada, the other side of the bridge. So you're invited to come to that too and be a part of this community, both in the flesh and here online. But without further ado, here's this week's message from Missing Piece. I want to give you a bit of a warning because this one's a bit deep and a bit hard and a bit sad, but often this season is a bit hard and a bit sad. So if you're feeling sensitive, you may want to pause here and watch later. I have a 7-year-old cousin who many of you have heard about through our prayer requests. Her name is Marin, and the Missing Piece community has prayed for her and sent good thoughts. The kids made cards, and we've generally followed her progress from afar. Well, we got some bad news this week. Marin's cancer is back in full force and has spread all over her body, including her spine. The prognosis is very bad. At this point, only a miracle could save her. So that's what I pray for, a miracle. But I've always been really honest with this community, and I will continue to be. I don't feel super hopeful. I'm already grieving for Marin and her family and the shockwaves of grief that will spread out from across there to extended family and friends. I'm already feeling hopeless and a bit angry because it hurts so much and seems so deeply unfair. And I find myself flinging my anger at God because when I boil it down, I come to either you can't or you won't. And I don't know which is worse. God, either you can't fix and heal this or you won't fix and heal this little girl. How could you? How could that square with everything we hope for in a loving God, a source of all goodness, love, and peace, like the Missing Piece community statement says? So here's our fodder for atheism. How could we believe in a God that could let this happen, that could let a sweet little 7-year-old girl die of a horrible disease? Either you can't or you won't, and I don't know which is worse. My heart just breaks. I'm totally crushed by the weight of it. But this is happening all the time to someone, right? Disease, death, famine, worse. It's always happening to someone, somewhere, or some lesser disease or depression or pain in our own lives. How can anyone maintain any kind of faith in light of that? Why do any good at all? Why not give up, opt out, cash in? It's too hard to face it. I don't have good answers to this as I sit in the dark pool of grief. I know I'm not the first to experience it. The 2,000-year-old Psalms are full of it. Even my own life has held deep pools of sadness. Surely that's not true just for me. What I also know is I don't feel this way all the time. Through the glass darkly, I see another version of myself that isn't weighed down by the web of despair. A version that knows the deep sadness of the world exists but refuses to let it overcome her. That insists on being part of the light instead. I'm not sure I have the energy to be here today. Perhaps you've had days like that too. Perhaps that's why we have each other, and not just ourselves. Because as surely as it is someone somewhere's darkest day, it is another person's most glorious. And underneath the cloud of sadness hanging over my family in this painful time, there's a glimmer of hope that the world is still more good than bad, that people are still more good than bad, that hope is worth it, and that hurt is not the final word. And that's why we gather. That's why we sow seeds we'll never reap. That's why we hope even when it seems foolish to do so. That's why we read the stories of our ancient ancestors and their strife, pain, struggle, and overcoming. We need each other. Because when my hope is lost, I need yours. And the same in return. And sometimes we just need to do something creative and productive and constructive to remind ourselves there is still goodness in the world, and contributing to it is always worth it. So thanks for being here today, for listening. Thank you for sharing in my story today, even though it's a sad one. And thank you for building and hoping and goodness, so that perhaps for even just a little while, we can set down our hurt. And after this message at Missing Peace, we went and planted a garden at Family Renew, which is a shelter for families that have found themselves in homeless situations. And we did some good, because we know it's worth it. Even when things seem dark and sad, we know it's worth it. And I think that's what Easter's all about. That even when it seems like the worst has happened, it's not the last word. I hope that you will join us this Easter, or find another community to be with where you can feel connected and feel good and feel like goodness wins. Because it does, even when all seems lost. As always, you're welcome to join Missing Peace sometime in the flesh. You can find where we're going to be as a nomadic community on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, or by texting PEACE to 33222. Happy Easter, friends. Grace and peace.